Hi, this is Suzanne Long with Jackson College, and today we're going to do an activity-based costing problem. Let's take a look at the problem information first, and then we'll go through the problem requirements, and we'll have all kinds of things to talk about today. Okay, first we have some opening information about the company. So our company, we're going to look at their two products that they make. And then we've got two departments, cutting and welding and assembly. And as I do with my files and my videos, I may be making some changes as we go along, and then I'll post this file in our class for us. Okay, let's look at this first box, activities, costs, and drivers. So here's our two departments. So I want you to picture a manufacturing environment. Within cutting and welding, here's the different things that are happening within that department, and the costs associated with those activities. So if we drill down into the cutting and welding department, just welding, $776,000. Just setups, $240,000. So how could you do that? Well, you could do a study of someone's time. You could say, okay, we've got employee number 37, works in the cutting and welding department, and we're going to track her time over the course of 6 weeks, and she's going to keep track of how much time, say in quarter-hour increments, she's spending on these different types of activities in her job. And then we could split up salaries and supplies and all kinds of things. So each one of these numbers, like say the 240 for setups, includes some additional work. So we're being given the cost information by activity. And then if you go across, like I'll stay with setups here. Setups, $240,000 total. How many setups were there? There were 100. And this is expected. We're looking at expected costs for the period that we're planning for. So how could we come up with these numbers? Well, we could, do a historical and look at the last couple of years. We could do it monthly, annual to put together these numbers. So these quantity numbers over here also represent some work that somebody already did. So we see what are the expected. Welding, how many welding hours. Machines, how many machine hours, etc. So we see all these different categories and details. This is like a cost study for the cutting and welding department. Let's take a look at the other department, assembly. Take a look at the activities. Here are the costs. We can kind of compare. Okay, cutting and welding is, twice as big as assembly in terms of cost. And then what goes with changeover? Okay, what goes with rework? Okay, there's something called rework orders. Tests, materials handling, number of parts, engineering hour. Yeah, okay. So we see all this detailed information. Everything that you see in black is given. And when we get to putting together our work, I'm going to use blue so we can compare and contrast. Black will be given, blue will be our new calculations. Okay, there's one more set of information down here, product A, product B, but I don't want to forget this little guy right here, so let me go back up. Let me see if we can get them all on the same screen here. Okay, here's cutting and welding, here's assembly, and here's other activity. So this is all overhead. And remember what overhead is. So we've got direct materials, we've got direct labor, and we've got overhead. Those are the three product costs. What is included in overhead? Remember, overhead's kind of a list of things. Direct materials is the material specifically related to making our product. Got that? So it's like a list of parts or a list of ingredients. Direct labor, those are the people directly working on the product. If it's hand labor or machine labor, they're directly working on the machine that's making the product. Overhead is everything else, like indirect materials, like the glue or the small hardware or other sort of smaller things that are related to materials, or indirect labor. Everybody else in the plant that's working. So it could be supervisors, quality control, and on and on and on, shipping. All of these other people are indirect. Honestly, the supervisors usually suck up a lot of the indirect labor dollars. And then other things like anything that says plant, like plant supplies, plant depreciation, and etc. Plant, all of the plant costs. Anything related to running the plant, let's put utilities in here because that's a big one. Anything that's related to running the plant and producing our product that's not materials or labor. So there are 3 product costs. This is just a little review over here. 3 product costs: materials, labor, and overhead. And what we're doing is we're looking at overhead. So we've got 2 departments with overhead and these other overhead categories. So take a look at the other overhead categories. Cost, yeah, I might change this around a little bit. And then line by line, purchasing is related to purchase requisitions. So this is called the driver. Receiving orders. Paying our suppliers relates to invoices, etc. Notice that machine hours showed up twice. We've got machining costs and cutting and welding based on machine hours. And we've got space and utilities also based on machine hours. Interesting. Very interesting. So these sections up here are all overhead costs. If we add these 3 up, we'll have total overhead. We're going to do that. Then this last section, and this is the last section, is related to the 2 products. So when you look at product A, product B, you'll see right out of the gate, we've got how much production do we have for each department, for each product. Notice that product B, we're selling, double, a lot more product B than product A. And then everything else you see here matches up here. Change over. Purchase requisitions, here we go. Purchase requisitions. So again, someone did a study and looked at, okay, product A, how many welding hours does it take? Product B, how many welding hours does it take? So we've got all of this data based on these different drivers, all the way down to invoices. How many invoices are related to product A? How many invoices are related to product B? And then, of course, you could split, just like I talked about splitting up that one person's labor report. You could do the same thing with an invoice, of course. You could say, well, this company only makes 2 products, so you could look at one invoice and say half of the invoice relates to product A and half of the invoice relates to product B, so it counts half and half. So there has been some studies and some analysis to get all of this data put together. So, okay, we've got our cost data and we've got our product data. All right, let's see what's required. So in this problem, the first thing that's required is to create a plant-wide rate. So the wording in the problem is plant-wide rate. Plant-wide rate. Say that 5 times really fast. It doesn't really, you have to know what to do here. So I'm going to add a little thing here. Plant-wide rate equals an overhead rate based on total plant costs. Actually, I should say plant overhead costs. So it's almost like there's a little conversion here. Plant-wide rate. Plant-wide rate, that means something. So if it doesn't mean something to you yet, then this is a good time to review and kind of go over my wording, my ideas on plant-wide rate. Of course, you can look it up in a textbook or online as well. Plant-wide rate. So here's my words. This is going to be an overhead rate based on total plant overhead costs. Let's keep going. Let's make a little formula here. We're going to have total overhead costs divided by total, in this case, machine hours, because they said plant-wide rate based on machine hours. And comma, we're going to do 2 things. Total overhead by product and unit overhead by product. Okay, so we need total overhead costs. We need to do this. And we need total machine hours. Let's start with total overhead costs. So I'm going to go back to my worksheet. These are my worksheets down here. Notice that this is kind of a mess, and I'm playing around and I'm creating the video, and before I close out this file, I will clean this up and we'll have text, solution, and blank down here. Right now I'm playing around, and what you see here is sheet 5. This will become the, well, this could become the solution or the blank. We'll see what it looks like. Every time I work a problem, I do it a little bit differently, so this might be better than I've done it before. We'll see. Let's go back to the problem. So this is how the problem appeared in the textbook, and we're looking for overhead. So overhead for cutting and welding is this amount. Assembly, this amount. Other, this amount. So you could type cutting and welding. I'm going to come up here to the formula line and copy and paste. Put it right there. And then I want the next one. I want that assembly. Again, you could type it, you can copy and paste it, whatever sounds good to you. And then I need other. Of course, it's not very big a deal, is it? Then I want to get the amounts in there. And do I want to just come here? Yeah, sure. So cutting and welding, I'm going to do equals. I'm about to do a cell reference. So I typed equals. I'm going back to this worksheet and click. Equals, click, enter. Let's do it again. Equals, click, enter. And equals, click, enter. All right, let's add them up. Whew, I remember that number. That's good. So we've got total overhead. Excellent. Now, we need to do total overhead divided by machine hours. So now we need, let's say total again, total machine hours. And I'm going to do an equals because I think I'm going to see it all in one spot. Let's go see what we can find. So we're looking for machine hours. I see 10,000 here. I see 10,000 here. Down here I see 3 and 7, which add up to 10,000. Yep, so I've got my equals. I already clicked equals. Click what I want and enter. There's my 10,000. Now there's some formatting issues here. Let's go ahead and fix the formatting. These numbers are going to be $, and I don't need 2 decimal places, so that's good. Machine hours should not be a $, so I'm going to click comma and get rid of the decimal places. And I'm going to put an underline in. That's up here, borders, under. So I got this plus this equals 4 million divided by 10,000 is going to give me my rate, my plant-wide rate. So remember up here, I'm giving you a little extra piece here, a little reference piece. Total overhead divided by machine hours. So total overhead, 4 million divided by machine hours, 10,000. Let's do it. Equals, click, divide, click, enter. $400. And that I can hit with the line and double line. That will kind of finish it off nicely. And I'm checking right here in terms of formatting. Everything should line up nice and neat. I'm using $, up here and comma up here and getting rid of the 2 decimal places right there. Okay, so plant wide rate, total overhead. Oh, we got to keep going. We got to do per product. Oh, hello, I hear my phone. So now we need to look at per product. Something about overhead and something. Let's look at machine hours per product. So I'm down in that last section. Here's our product information, and here's machine hours. So I've got 3,000 machine hours for product A. I want to take that. How many machine hours relate to product A? Times that per machine hour rate. That's what I want to do. Now, right here, how do I want to set that up? This is going to be... I think I'd like to add a little heading here. I'm going to insert some rows. I'm going to call this the plant wide rate. See how it's doing some formatting? I'm going to click wrap text. Put this back to 11. Yeah, it did a little funniness right here too. These should all be row height of 15. Okay, that's clean now. Skip line. Now I'm going to do my per product overhead. Overhead by product. Yeah, let's say that. Can't type. Overhead. Still can't type. By product. So I'm going to need machine hours. And I'm going to need the plant-wide rate per machine hour. And that'll give me total overhead. And this is indenting a little bit. That's okay. And then up here somehow I need to say product A, product B. I think I'll just keep it real simple. So right now I did the plant-wide rate. I'm good there. We could even throw a little something on this. And remember I said I was going to use blue for all my original stuff, so here we go. Is that really 11? Yeah, I guess I blew it up a little bit. Okay. So plant-wide rate, yeah, I got that. And now I'm working on overhead by product and unit overhead by product. That's what we're doing down here. 400 per machine hour. Well, how many machine hours are there for product A? Let's go find it. Equals product A, machine hours. Machine hours, product A, I want that. Equals, click, enter. Let's do product B. Equals, click, machine hours, B, yep, enter. So there's my 3 and my 7. Some people really like to have a, oh boy, I'm really regretting. I copied and pasted this space and it's doing things I don't want. So there might be some things you just want to ignore. Just ignore me because your file's probably not going to do that. And there's my dog. Go lay down, baby. Okay, so there's our machine hours. And the plant-wide rate we've already calculated. So I'm going to have an equals, click, enter. And yes, of course, you could just type it. So machine hours, 3,000 times 400 per machine hour. So we're going to multiply. Equals, click, asterisk, click, enter. This would still be our 400. We could keep multiplying. And you're going to see a magic number here. Remember the 4. Total overhead, total overhead. Yeah, should agree, right? Should match up. Let's see if things are doing what I want. These should all, let's see, these are hours, so these should not have a dollar sign, but a comma. No decimal places. Plant-wide rate, yep. These should have a dollar sign. Very good. 4 million, 4 million. I'm not quite done, and then I'll add the gray and the blue and all that. Okay, we just did total overhead to each product, which is right here. Now I need to do unit overhead. So if plant A is consuming 1.2 million in overhead costs, how much is that per unit? Per unit for product A. Well, then we have to go look and see how many product A's did we make? Unit produced, 1,500. Units produced. So product A equals, click, we produced 1,500. How many B's did we produce? I think it was 3,000, wasn't it? Double? Yep, 3,000. So we've got total, we've got units. We're going for per unit, unit overhead cost. Yeah, there's more things I need to fix in a minute here. Total divided by units equals how much per unit. Let's do it. Equals this one divided by this one and enter. equals this one, the big total, divide by the number of units equals how much per unit. And I'm going to fix. That should be comma, no decimal place. That one looks fine. I like that it's showing the decimal place because the 933 is, 933 and a third. This, I need to scoot over. These are these arrows up here, alignment. And I generally do, I'm going to insert a row right here. I generally do 2 rows in between sections or in between schedules, that kind of thing. And now I'm going to throw the gray and the blue on, so that's my original work. And then anything, any place where you're like, I guess I did it, but I'm not really sure what I just, go back and do it again. Maybe do it 3 times. Maybe wipe this all out, or click on a new, blank worksheet and do it again. If something's not really clicking or not really clear, go back and try it again. Do this problem, do another practice problem. So let's go back to part 1. What were we supposed to be doing? Okay, plant-wide rate. We have to do the plant-wide rate in order to do what they're asking us to do. Calculate total overhead by product and unit overhead. So that would be like this part and this part. That's what was asked for in part 1. So I'm highlighting in yellow what the requirement was in part 1. I definitely recommend that you do that, because if your file does happen to get a little squirrely or messy or whatever, if you throw some yellow on your answer, that will really help me to review it, or whoever's reviewing your work. If it's a supervisor on the job, or if this is an academic setting and you're going to be submitting work for a grade. Okay, that takes care of part 1. Let's take a look at part 2. Using activity rates. Let's go back and look at activities. Remember, these are activities. Remember when we broke down the department into what's happening within the department? And then how could you measure those activities? So we're going from the whole department to a list of things happening within the department to what actually drives, or how could we measure those specific activities? And that's what this whole thing is about, is activity-based costing. Using activity, calculate total overhead. Didn't we just do that? Total overhead, each product, unit over, yes. So we did it this way in part 1, plant-wide rate, and now we're going to do it this way, activity-based rate. All right, and off we go. I've got a whole bunch of space here, and then down here, part 3, 4, 5, I'm just going to show you some calculations. We're not going to do them together, but you'll have them at the very end of the video if you need to look them up. All right, this is the heart of what we're doing today, activity-based costing. All right, I'm going back to our problem, and I'm going to do quite a bit of copy-paste. So here's our activities, costs, drivers. And now I'm going to calculate cost per. So this is total costs. This is welding hours. I want to know how much is it per welding hour. And I don't really want it here. I want it in the other space where I'm working on my problem solving stuff. So I think I'm just going to come down a bit, because I do want to have some kind of title up here. I'm not exactly sure. So right now I'm just doing some just real rough copy paste, all the activity based stuff. I'm just going to get it over here. Don't forget the other section. That one was sticking out funny. No, I don't want that. Undo. Okay, it's a little better. Okay, so going from the original information that was provided in the problem, I'm just copying and pasting over here. What am I doing? Where do I want to put this? Let's put this here. Determine activity cost per, well, it depends, per hour, per item, per driver item, like per hour. Okay, that's what we're doing. And looks like I got a little extra space here. Delete. Alright, how come that looks different than this? Oh, this is 12. I don't want 12. I think I was doing 11 everywhere, wasn't I? This was 14. That's 11. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Yeah, I'm using Calibri 11 consistent. Those are the little kind of things you want to edit before you submit. Again, if you're submitting to a boss, a supervisor, or an instructor for grading. Now, this looks a little messy here, so I'm going to do a little copy paste, actually cut paste right now, and just move some things around a little bit. Okay, now that, open that up a little bit. This could come over even more. So then this is freed up, and this could come over a little bit more here, and then that's freed up. Okay. Now down here, this just doesn't look right at all. I'm going to line it up with everything I just did. Okay, that looks better. Oh, I am going to want some kind of heading. So let's go back and I'm just going to copy and paste this over, and I know I'm going to have to move it, so bear with me. Quantity, that's over here. Driver, that's right here. Cost, that's right here. This is right here. Actually, I'm going to copy paste that. Right here, I'd like to say department. And this one we'll just call other. And I'm going to add an extra row, column. I'm going to include an extra column over here on the right, and I'm going to throw some gray on top of it. And this guy up here, I'm going to make that all one big line. So what I'm doing right now is copying and pasting from the problem, from the text of the problem. And I tried to be really faithful to how it was presented in the textbook, which isn't necessarily how Suzanne would present it. That's how they gave it to us. Now, over here, I'm manipulating things a little bit, and I'm making it the way I want it to look. So this is, slightly different presentation, but pretty close. So everything you see here in black is coming from the problem. Right here, I'm going to end up with a dollar amount, so I'm going to copy and paste this column over here, and I'm going to throw some blue on it, and then I'm going to say what this is. So this is cost per driver. And I don't want these numbers, but I copied and pasted the format, so I just copied the dollar sign type format. So little things to think about when you're copying and pasting. If I had copied and pasted quantity, which is what I was thinking about because it was right next door, I'm like, why not do this one? Because that will also get the format I want. Not a big deal. Okay, so we have total cost. We have how many hours. We need to know how much per hour. So it's equals the big total divided by the quantity. And I see 194. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that whole column and open it up to 2 decimal places because I'm expecting to see some that don't come right out. This was nice and even. Cost per driver, $194 per welding hour is the cost to produce our products. Let's try that again. Equals the total divided by the hours. Now, you've got it. Let's copy it. So click on that answer. Find your fill handle, that little black X. Click and drag. And I'm almost done with that column. I'm going to undo. Let's do it again. So I got my answer for the first one. This divided by that. And notice how I wrote the formula. I did not type 776000. No. I clicked on a cell, and I clicked on a cell. That's how I got the 194. So I can use fill handle, and you just, move your mouse around until you get that black plus sign. Click and drag down. Now I don't want this, so delete that, and I don't want that, delete that. Those are those blank rows that are there strictly for some spacing, just to make it a little easier on the eyes. Okay, so when you're doing activity-based costing, this is the first step in activity-based costing, is how much is your cost per whatever, cost per hour, cost per inspection, cost per setup, etc. Then the next thing we're going to do is apply. So like this $194 per welding hour, well, how many welding hours were there for product A? 1,600. How many welding hours for product B? 2,400. So down here, I'm thinking about, like my presentation. How do I want to do this? So over here, I'm going to have a list of this kind of stuff. Welding hours, machine hours, all that. This kind of stuff. But then I want to get into product A, product B. So I think I'm going to start here. Actually, I think I want to use these. I want to use the actual activities. And I'm going to put these over, I'm going to leave myself a little space. See how it's still highlighted? I hit enter, but it's still there. I'm going to do a double click there. Okay. And then I want to know welding for product A. I would like that to be capital. Product A. There we go. So welding for product A, cost per driver. I need to insert a row. So I'm going to have product A kind of on top. We're going to have cost per driver, and then we're going to have the units, and then we're going to multiply. So we're going to have a 3-column little section right here. This is my idea of the day. We'll see how this ends up looking. So right here is going to be all of my stuff from up here, cost per driver. So I'm copying and pasting right here. It didn't do it right because of the way I was using formulas. So we can fix that. Equals, click on the 194. And then do the fill handle and pull it down. It's like, nah, you're going to do what I want you to do. Okay, so $194 per welding hour. Okay, now we need to go over here and find welding hours, activities, activity drivers. Okay, so I'm going to call this driver. How many welding hours are there for product A? And that's right here. These guys. Now, I'm copying and pasting, and I know it's not going to line up quite right, but it's going to be pretty close. So here's my 1,600, and I'm going to have to look. I want to get to setups. Setups is going to be batches. So 45 is going to be batches, and 7,200 is going to be moves. 45 batches, moves. Okay, I'm still good. I need changeovers. That's what I'm really looking for. Changeovers, 540. And again, if you don't like what I'm doing right now, you could type these in. Changeover, 540. 5 all the way down. So I'm going down to engineering. I've got 1,500 for engineering. Yep. Purchase requisition starts with 425. So yep, I'm going to scoot these down a space. Very good. 425. Purchase orders, 1,800. Where's my 650? 650 for invoices. I'm going to do a cell reference right there. Equals 650 for invoices. Providing space. How come there's nothing there? Oh, I remember. Providing space is based on machine hours. So there's two things that use machine hours. Up here and up here. But machine hours only shows up in one place down here. Machine hours is used twice. So I'm going to do equals. I need machine hours. Okay, this is looking pretty messy, right? Do I want, I really don't remember. I'm just going to put it all in gray. Oops, not quite that far. I'm going to put it all in gray, and then I can take out some gray later if I need to or want to. And I'm going to put all this in blue. That does not need to be bold. Is this I think this is doing an underlying thing from the table. Yeah. Okay, so cost per driver, that's coming from right here. And then the drivers, this is coming from over here. How much for product A? All this kind of stuff. Yep, right there. And then we're going to have our cost. Welding equals $194 per welding hour. So 194 times 1,600 welding hours. Oops, I didn't do that right. Click, asterisk, I forgot the asterisk, click. Equals, click, asterisk, click, enter. And again, because I'm using cells, I can copy and paste this down. And I'm deleting those little empty spaces I don't need. Now, that doesn't look right. 17 million, something's goofy right here. I think these two are reversed. I think I had this problem before. I'm going to throw an auto sum on here. Yeah, that's way too much. Okay, setups. Setups, setups, setups. See how it doesn't say setups here, but it says setups here? Let's look. Setups, setups, setups. Moves. I think the problem is right here. And this was an issue in our textbook as well. Hang on just a second. I'm going to pause and I'm going to go double check the textbook. Just one second. Alright, I'm back. Yeah, right here there's a problem in the textbook. So the batches, there are more batches than moves. Moves is how many times you have to physically move the machines around. And if you look right here, this should correlate. You know, the small numbers should be together. So the moves is 45 and the batches is 72. And okay, so it's fixed there. Did it fix it here? No. So setups 45 moves. Yeah, 2.2 million. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Is there anything else I want to do right here? Just formatting. There's some formatting things. I think I want to center these, and I'm going to put product A in the middle of everything. Merge and center with a line. These could be underlined. That might be kind of nice. Hey, I thought I centered these. There we go. Look at how this column's cutting off just a little bit, so I'm just going to just sneak in just a little bit more space. I'd like my columns to be as consistent as possible, but I'm just going to sneak in a little bit there. Okay, I'm basically happy with the way this looks. It doesn't have to be fancy. It'd be okay if right here you had your drivers, you know, like welding hours instead of welding. Either which way, you just need to be able to identify your rows. Okay, so this is total overhead. Hey, let's go back up for a second. Way up. No, that's not what I was thinking of. Never mind. Total overhead 2.2 million. Let's do the same thing for B. I'm going to copy and paste this whole bunch of stuff. I'm skipping a column for some spacing just visually so it looks maybe a little nicer. Now when I copy and paste it, it looks kind of like a mess, right? So now we're going to go in and change everything up for product B. The cost per driver is the same, so it's going to be the same 194 here, one right here. I'm going to do cell reference again, so equals 194 and enter. I'm going to click on the 194, pull them down. Oh, you know, an easier way to do this would be to copy right here. let's copy and paste here to here. There. Oh no. It's using cell references. Equals cell reference. Ah. Oh, okay. Alright, here we go. Let's get rid of these. Those were for product A, and maybe just take a breath. Okay, what just happened? So product B, cost per driver, these should be exactly the same. Like welding. $194 per welding hour is consistent for the whole company. That's what it is for everybody. Both products. Okay, now we need the drivers for B. These were the drivers for A, starting with 1600. Now we need the drivers for B. So here's 1600 for A. We need 2400 for B. Now, you can copy and paste this in and then move them around, or you can use cell reference or however you want to do it. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste. And then I'm going to move them around. So they need to end up looking like this. Remember the last one was space and utilities? I'm going to put that in and then I'm going to bring things down. Space and utilities was based on machine hours, and machine hours for product B are 7,000. So right here, I need product B, space and utilities, I need equals machine hours. And then I can move these other guys down. So I need 3 right here. And I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I kind of check, like, are things lining up? Yeah. And I'm going to go over top again. Again, I don't know how much gray I'm going to want, but here we go. And this was 11. I don't know what's up with the other one. Let's check right here. We've got 540, 460. Hey, wasn't that supposed to be... Oh, no, that's rework. What was the one I was kind of looking out for? Oh, here it is, the 45 and the 55. Yeah, that looks okay. What's up with this big one here? 4 million. That doesn't seem right. 400 and 250. 4 million. 400 and 500. 200. 400 and 250. This should be 100,000. I'm going to do my formulas over again. Equals this times this. And pull it down. I'm not sure what was going on in there, but something was not quite right. 1.8, and I think I'm going to put my total down here. I don't really want something hanging off on the right side. If I add up these two things, total company overhead. This is by product. Oop, I need a little space in there, don't I? Okay, so total overhead for product A is 2.2 million. Total overhead for product B is 1.8 million. And the total of both is 4 million. And that's the magic number. Number 4 million for total overhead. So if we're splitting using the plant-wide, we've got 1.2 and 2.8. If we're splitting using activity-based costing, we've got 2.2 and 1.8. It's different. Yeah, I don't want this right here. Just forget about that. I don't want that because I want to keep going and do unit. We're doing part 2. What are we doing? We're doing activity-based costing, and we're calculating overhead by product. We just did that, those big $1 million numbers. And now we need to do overhead by unit or per unit. So that thing I just did with the 400 is kind of like, that's nice. That's good to know. It's good to know that our overhead agrees and ties out. Now let's do units. Units produced and overhead. I think they called it unit overhead. Overhead. since I got rid of the other one, I'm going to get rid of this. It's fine with it though. Okay, how many units of product A did we produce? How many units of product B did we produce? This is going to be a cell reference. Equals product A, how many units produced? That's that first one, right there, 1,500. How about product B? Equals first one, double. 1,500 happens to be double for product B. Okay, then I can do how much is overhead per unit. Total overhead divided by the units equals per unit. Equals this divided by that. Equals this divided by that. Now, oh, I know what's kind of goofy about all of this. These are all 2 decimal places. I don't want 2 decimal places. I don't want 4 either. Oh my goodness. And these are units. No dollar signs, comma. Whole numbers. These guys I'm going to leave as dollar sign and 2, there we go, 2 decimal places. And these we can do the line underline. That's the grand finale right there. Okay, that's it. That's activity-based costing. Costing of overhead based on the activities, based on all the detail. Let's go back to part 2. What else did it ask for? Comment on. Okay. This was determine activity cost per driver item. Yeah, that's okay like that. And this is the actual activity-based costing down here. So activity-based costing, you have to do this in order to apply it down here and do this. Now, some people will just have a column here, and it'll be equals this times that. That's fine. You don't have to have these 2 columns to show it. I wanted to, so it would be really clear. This times this equals this. I wanted it to all show up, so I'm playing around with a little bit different format. This is the answer, so to speak, to activity-based costing. And now we're going to comment on activity-based costing. So I don't want gray right here. We're done with that section. And I don't want gray there. That's my activity-based costing right there. Okay, now I'm going to have my comment. And to do this, I feel cramped. I'm going to add some rows in here so I have a little more. No, not like that. There we go. I just want to have a little bit more space. Unit overhead based on the plant-wide rate. How can I say that in one little thing? Plant-wide unit overhead. How about that? Plant-wide unit overhead cost. Oops, I got my overhead mixed up there. And I'm going to copy and paste that. And then this one is going to be get rid of plant-wide. The other way is activity-based. Jeez, can't type. Now it's centering. I don't want centered. I want left. Oh, that works out nicely because then I can just pull these down. Okay. Plant-wide. And I'm going to stick with AB. Plant-wide for A was right here. So equals, click, enter. Plant-wide for B was equals, click, enter. Activity base is just right there. And activity base for B is just right there. Okay. So that's what we did, and now we're asked to make a comment about that. Oops, excuse me. I was taking a sip. I didn't mean to bash into my microphone. Okay, so if we do the plant-wide calculation, everything is based on machine hours, and these aren't the same number, but they're kind of close. 800, 900. and product B is getting more costing. If we do activity-based, it's based on all of these different factors, lots more detail about what's actually going on within the departments to produce these two items. We're getting a lot better look at what's actually happening. We see, oh, it's not like 800, and actually product A is more expensive to produce. It's sucking up more overhead dollars than product B. So your comment down here is your own words. It's your own observation. Let's see, I might say something like the plant-wide, oh geez, hang on a second. We want left, not center. The plant-wide rate is based on only one factor, comma, machine hours. This results in an almost even distribution of overhead costs between the two products. On the other hand, the activity-based rate is based on, boy, I don't know, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. The activity-based rate is based on 14 factors and results in a much more accurate determination of overhead cost by product. Oops. RUD. And I'm typing one line at a time, which is a terrible way to type in Excel. It just worked out like that. In fact, our activity-based costing reveals that product A is more costly, is more costly to produce than product B. Activity-based costing is superior to plant-wide costing. Superior due to the detail and additional analysis included, involved, represented. I don't know, something like that. Writing is not necessarily my go-to, but this is okay. This could be much better, but just to get some ideas out there, this is okay. And then I could go back and maybe compose a little bit nicer paragraph or not. This would be fine. If you're submitting this for points, something like this would be fine. The point of this is for you to go back and look at what you did and think about it and make some comment that tells me you see what's going on here. If we use the plant-wide rate, we get how much unit overhead cost. Product A, $800 per product A is overhead. $900 per B is overhead. So it looks kind of bad, or it looks a little worse for product B. And then if you do it this way, oh hey, I need to highlight these as well. It asked for that, hey, yellow, and it asked for that, total and unit. Now if we do it this way, we're like, wow, product B is pretty cheap to produce. I thought product B was more costly to, wait, hold on. But this analysis was much richer and more detailed and involved. This is really what's going on, the 600 and the 14. Okay, so this comment is you expressing, your understanding of the work that you just did. Okay, you just did all this beautiful analysis. What does it mean? How would you describe it? What's going on there? So this is the comment part. Am I really at column J? Yeah. So I'm going to do a little editing there before I finalize this file just to get it all on this spot. So why did I put that in yellow? I put that in yellow because that was required. Calculate overhead per product, that was required. Calculate unit overhead, that was required. Comment, that was required. So those three things are required for part 2. If you skip the comment, you know, if you're one of my students and you just skip that part, then you're not going to get all your points. So you want to at least give it a shot and keep getting better and better at your analysis and comments. Okay, to wrap things up today, I'm going to show you some consumption rates, and they're just not a big deal. That's what you need to know. Consumption rates are not a big deal. So I'm going back to the problem. We're going to talk about consumption rates. And I'm down here in the product section. So this is the bottom of the problem. And let's look at one that's the same. Like check out inspections, 500 and 500. So the consumption rate is 50% and 50% because if you were to take 100% and split it in between the two products, it's half and half. I mean, it happens to be the number 5, but that's just a coincidence that it's 5 and 50%. Let's look at units. Well, no, it's not going to be units. It's going to be, I'm looking for, well, how about moves? 45 plus 55 is 100. So the consumption rate here is going to be 45% and 55%. Let's look at this one. Changeover a little bit. I mean, it's a little bit more than half, a little bit less than half. So this one's going to be, that's not 1,000, is it? 5, 9. It is 1,000. This will be 54%. That'll be 46%. This one, 41, this is going to be 20%. This is going to be 80%. Now, let me show you how to do it. So here's calculate global. And I'm just showing you what these look like so you have some examples. If you get to something, I think there's something in C now where you're going to need consumption rates. Global, total overhead based on total cost. Total cost, 2.2, 1.8. 2.2, 1.8. So here's A and here's B. A and B together. So A divided by the total. B, the 1.8, divided by the total. And these two have to add up to 100%. You can always have a little thing over on the right that's kind of tracking your work. So you can see, oh yeah, it needs to add up to 100%, I'm good. So that's global, based on total overhead costs. Let's look at this one, consumption for welding and materials handling. Welding is based on welding hours. Materials handling is based on parts. Let's do one of these, but let's not do both of these. Let's do parts. So I'm going to go look at parts. Oh, hey, that's where I was. Woohoo! 40 and 10. So here's my 40 for product A. Here's my 10 for product B divided by the total. Here's my 80%. There's my 20%. Hey, that worked out really nice. And again, you could have a little checker over here, but I can see that 0.8 plus 0.2 equals 1 equals 100%. Notice that it says ratios, and this is how they're being reported. So watch that for Cengage now. Consumption ratios for inspection, and all right, let's do the last one. Let's do engineering hours. Engineering hours, 1,500 for A, 500 for B. So that's 2,000 total. That's going to be 1/4 or 25%, and that's going to be 3/4 or 75%. I can just see that one because it's sort of easier numbers. But let's see the actual math. 1,500 for product A, 500 for product B, divided by the total, divided by the total. And like, here's my actual formula. And this is me showing you what my formula is with the apostrophe sign. So, consumption rates, that's what that means. So, it's really not a big deal. And then there were some other things in this problem, and I just made an executive decision not to go there. The heart of this video is to demonstrate activity-based costing. So, that's what's going on there. We did the plant-wide rate, we calculated our total and our unit. Then we worked through activity-based costing, got to do your cost per driver first. Then apply that cost per driver times the driver amounts by product, multiply. Calculate your total, divide by units, get your per unit amount. We've got our comment about the two. And then this particular problem went further into some other things. So that is it for today. Thanks for being with us on this one, and I'll talk to you again real soon.